Welcome to 9.3. We're going to learn something brand new today. Hopefully, you've already submitted your do now. If you haven't, please pause, try your do now, and submit it. But we're going to review it right now. The directions are write the for of loop that appends each item of the array in unordered lists. Okay, so I'm going to open up this. I'm going to practice using our for of loop, which you should have learned in the most recent lesson. Okay. So we have an array of foods here, menu items. In that array, we have 4 array elements: pizza, string of burger, string of fries, and unfortunately, a string of salad. Like, who likes those? So we're going to loop or iterate over this array and display them on the page. We're going to start with the keyword of for. And I'm going to get my syntax correct. Okay, so I know I need the parentheses. I know I need the curly brackets. All right, and then we are going to declare a variable. We have these menu items. Let's call each menu item an item of menu items, the array that we have here. Cool. And what we want to do is append it to this unordered list with the class of menu. That's the class name. So we're going to select that. So our selector is dot menu. We're going to use the append method. And then append some list items, right? So let me get that ready. And then we know we're going to use our lovely tool concatenation in our variable that we've declared item. And so we are able to append each of these list items: pizza, burger, fries, and salad. And that's our do now. All right. So now you're going to help me read out this objective for today's lesson. Okay. On 3, 1, 2, 3, coders will use array methods in order to modify an array. Vocabulary is array, dot push, dot length, and method. All right, so far in this unit, we've learned how to declare an array, and we've used loops to iterate over an array. So in this lesson, we're going to learn how to use something called array methods to modify existing arrays, right? So the first array method we're going to learn how to use is dot push. So dot push is a method we use to add an element to an array, right? So here we have an array called donuts, and we're using the dot push method to push in this string glaze, this array, this element that'll be added to our array. With dot push, the element will always be added to the end of the array. So here we have an array called donuts with the strings vanilla, chocolate, and strawberry stored in them. These are our array elements. We're going to push in a string with the word glazed into our array, right? So following this, it'll read vanilla. What will be stored in donuts is vanilla, chocolate, and strawberry, and glazed, right? Sounds delicious. All right, you can also push in variables. So if we save glaze, the string, to a variable called flavor, we can push in that variable and it will still have the same result. In the donuts array, we would have vanilla, the string chocolate, the string strawberry, and the string glaze. You can also use dot push to push stuff into an empty array. So you can see donuts here is an empty array, just a square bracket, nothing in it. And now we're pushing in the string vanilla is our first donut in our array. So now we have 1 array element, and that is vanilla, and that sits at the index of 0. All right. So now we can also use dot push in this way. It's kind of showing off what we talked about just now. So we have donuts array, we're pushing in glaze, and now you can see at the index of 3, you can see the glazed donut with some sprinkles on it. So at 0, we have vanilla. At 1, we have chocolate. 2, we have strawberry. And now we have glazed in there because we've used dot push. All right. Another array element we have is dot length. Now, dot length allows you to find out how many elements are in your array. All right. So what will this return? Okay, we have donuts dot length, and I can see, it looks to me like there are 3 elements in the array: vanilla, chocolate, and strawberry. All right, what about this array? Okay, so donuts.length for this array will give me num donuts, which is equal to 4, right? All right, so what's the difference between array.length and the index of my item? How about you tell me that? A second to think about it. So array.length tells you how many elements are in the array. All right, so this is the number of array elements. The index tells you the location of each one of those array elements, all right? So if you're trying to retrieve an element from an array, you're going to want to use the index. But if you're just trying to figure out how many elements are in an array, you're going to want to use the .length method, all right? So now we're going to work on this guided practice together. We're going to make a guest list for this wonderful party I'm going to have. It's going to be a blast. Hopefully you can come. But we're going to use some code to do that. All right, so we'll need an empty array outside the click handle to hold the guest names as they are entering. Okay, so here's our empty array. When the user clicks add guest, right, here's a class for that add guest button. We need to store the new name from the input into a variable and push that value to the array. All right, so here's some work done for us. Then we want to append the guest to the list on the page. And lastly, have the changing number of guests appear in number of guests, okay? So I know I'm gonna have to push these guests into that guest array. So I'm going to do that now. So I'm going to select this guest array, apply the push method, and use our wonderful variable that's created for us to push those guests in. And just to make sure it works, I'm gonna log guest to the console and see what happens, all right? So let's add some people to the guest list, all right? Let's invite Michael. Okay, we got Michael there. So who else should have come to this party? Let's get Denzel to this party too. He's a good friend of mine. Wonderful. Zendaya is also a great friend of mine, buddy. All right, so now you can see all these people are coming to my party on the guest list. They're getting pushed into this array, okay? So we did that first part. Then we want to append the guest to the list on the page, right? So how would I do that? I don't need this console.log anymore. I'm going to select this unordered list called guest list, and then append these list items, of course, to the page. All right, so we're gonna have some concatenation here, our favorite thing. And I'm gonna concatenate and add these guests. All right, so add Michael, Denzel, Zendaya. Okay, so you might be wondering why I didn't just add the array. If I did do that, this is what would happen. We have Michael, Zendaya, or Denzel, Zendaya. Okay, and that's not exactly what we want. All right, there's our ways to solve for that. You can empty out the array every time you push the button, but this works too. Lastly, have the changing number of guests appear in number of guests. Okay, so there's a number of guests here. And so we're going to have a selector that selects that class, number of guests. And we're going to change the text there to represent whatever the number of guests is, which we can determine by the number of number of elements in the array. So we can use our lovely function .length to do that. All right, let's see. We have Michael invited again. We have one guest. We have Denzel coming too. And we also have Zendaya. All right, that's 3 people. Let me just fix this Make sure it works again. Always want to test our code with every change we make. And beautiful. All right. Now we're all set. So now you are going to work on your independent practice. I'll help you through the instructions and make a to-do list. All right. So you're gonna make a to-do list. All right, so you're gonna create your own to-do list that takes each new task and add them to the list. Plus, let's keep track of how many items are in a to-do list. So you're gonna do pretty similar to our guided practice and make this to-do list that tracks all your tasks, right? Good luck. Make sure you submit your independent practice and also make sure you submit your exit ticket.